How's it going? Welcome to Married and Unfiltered. I'm Ramon.
I'm Kia, and today we're going to be talking about how we've been married for 3 years, but we've only actually been together for 1 year. I know that sounds kind of strange, but basically, most of our relationship over the past 6 years has been long distance. So, we're going to talk about our experience and also kind of what we went through and then how we are today in the past year and a half being together. So, I guess the first thing would be to talk about why or how we started in a long distance relationship. Do you want me to take it or do you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I met Ramon in Virginia, and we dated for about a year, I want to say, and I actually received a job offer in Chicago. And it was something we talked about and that we agreed that it was the best move for me to take overall. And what I always say is, I don't need no man, and I was about to go live my best life, but he completely honestly understood that this was something I needed for my career, and I needed to get to that next step, and I needed that job at the end of the day. But while I was in Chicago, at the time we were still only dating. While I was in Chicago, Ramon found out he was getting stationed to Germany. So
That was a shock.
Yeah, so there was a 2-year commitment for him to go to Germany. So we talked about what does that look like if I go, and just overall, it didn't make sense for us. If I was to move to Germany, likely I wouldn't work just due to that's what I do wouldn't make sense there, or there wasn't availability there, and I would probably be out of a job for 2 years. So at the end of the day, we decided that it would be best for me to stay here. And within all that time, we got married as well. So we got married long distance, not living in the same area. And I guess that's pretty much how our long distance relationship kind of started. First, it was about a year while he was in Virginia and I was in Chicago. And then 2 years, I was in Chicago for 1 year, and then another year in Jacksonville. And within that 2 years, we found out he was going to be stationed in Tampa. So that's a little bit of the background.
Yeah, just to kind of add to that, when I found out I was going to Germany, she was commuting kind of like back and forth through Chicago to Virginia. And I popped a question. Meanwhile, she was already like not near me. So we was already in a long distance stage of our relationship when I even asked. So then, the fact that I'm going to Germany was like, yo, we're just gonna add a little bit more on top of that. And I told her, I'll say, look, if we make it through that, then I think we're gonna be good for the next remainder of our life. So and so far we've been kicking. So yeah, that's our intro to how and why we decided to do this. But then it's like, why put yourself into a long distance relationship? Like, why do you think anyone else should basically take that risk?
I would say it's all on you. I think or you and your partner. It's something you have to determine that's right for you. I wouldn't say it's necessarily right for everybody. You definitely have to have trust. You definitely have to have communication before all of that. I would say for me, I actually grew up with, my dad was also in the Navy, so he would be away. But my dad, when I was 14, took a job about 2.5, 3 hours away where he would come home on the weekends. So for me, this was not something normal. And he actually is doing that up until he retires within the month. So that has been 16, 17 years. And it has worked. And I've seen it be successful. So for me, it didn't seem strange or abnormal, and people make it work, right? I think you have to put the energy into doing something like that. You can't just assume everything will fall in place. You have to push it. Like when we were long term, I had to figure out, how was I going to get back to Virginia? When could he come see me? What time should we come see each other? So going to Virginia was easy. Going to Germany started to become a little bit difficult. But we figure it out, and just having kind of that open communication, talking to each other. I talked to him all the time while he was in Germany, and luckily, the hours were actually worked out because of how he worked, and also just like the time zone. I think it's 6-7 hours difference. So I would say communication, trust, most definitely, but it's all on what you want. I felt like Ramon was worth it. I felt like I don't want to say what I was getting from him, but what I guess would it be what I was getting from you, or what I not what no that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is what I felt for you, what I felt our relationship meant. It was more than love. As I always say, love, you need more than love for a lot of stuff. For marriage, for a long distance relationship.
But you need all that other stuff like trust and honesty and comfort and support and all of that. And I think that's probably what she's trying to say.
Yeah, there you go. See, this is why we did a long distance relationship, because he knows me. Yeah. What do you think?
I think well, it's a lot of factors that really go into it, because you have to know what you're getting into with that person. Because if you don't fully trust that person, like if you don't trust that person, I would argue with your life, because when you get into a long distance relationship, you're now saying that this person has what it takes to become my significant other. And when that person becomes your significant other, you look at them a whole lot differently. And so if you can't trust this person with everything you have, then you probably shouldn't go into it. If you don't feel that way, if you're on a, if you have reservations, you probably shouldn't go into it and just, cut your losses now, because there's going to be heartache later on because you don't really have that trust factor built. The next thing is, can you financially support it?
I mean, I was blessed again because I took that job in Chicago at the end of the day. So how it worked, I took care of all my bills by myself where I was at. Like, he did not support in that space, but that's just how we decided. I mean, we were just married. I think it was still new for us, and we'll talk about a little bit later how the finance part came in place when we started living together again. But at that time, I was making enough to be able to support myself in Chicago, support my trips to go visit him. I mean, because that's the thing you got to think about. Let's just keep it real. Flying to Germany wasn't cheap. I mean, we talking about a range of a little under $1,000, but could be between $600 to $900 for a flight. And I was blessed that my job understood the situation I was in, and that I do work from home and remotely, and I was able to adjust my schedule to be able to stay for 2 weeks or whatever time frame I would be when I would be there, to be able to spend time with him. So that's stuff you really have to think about. I mean, most likely most people would be in different states. Different countries wouldn't normally be a thing. But you really have to think about the financial aspect, and if this is something that you both can sustain, because it may be good in the beginning, but is it sustainable in the long term?
This dog is down here.
Yeah, and he has this toy, and I can see that he wants. If you hear a squeak noise, that's what it is.
Yeah, he wants to play. Another thing is, when I'm talking about financially, like that. Now, money is not everything. You have to love that person, and sometimes you have that trust and you have that love, but you don't have the finances to do it. And that's when that communication piece becomes way more significant, because everybody got needs. And that's gonna be the part that nobody really wants to talk about. All right, let's get this dog over here. So everybody has needs. And that's the part that no one wants to talk about. And you want that person to be like, I love you and you love me, and we're gonna make this thing work, and you don't have to be with anybody else. But if you're not gonna see that person for an extended amount of time, you might just want to be real and say, is this something I can really do, or do we need to come to an agreement of some sorts? I don't think I need to go into specifics of what I'm getting at. You can understand the innuendo, but that communication piece becomes now the primary point of your relationship, because that physical contact is not going to be there. So I just want to throw that plug out there for you. So what's next, babe?
I guess we talk about our experience, communication, honesty, and trust. It's not for everyone. I guess you should know what you're getting into.
Yes, you should definitely know what you're getting into. You should know why, who, when, all those questions. Like, is this person, your baby daddy, your baby mama, or is this person your wife by now, your husband? or is they just your boyfriend and girlfriend? Because each one of them have a different place in your life, I would say.
It's also just a different feeling you have for someone, because I wouldn't say from previous relationships I wouldn't have done this with anyone else, to be totally honest.
I didn't know.
Because no, seriously, because that has come up before in my past, and I'm like, nah. But there was a lack of comfortability, trust. I did not trust that person. I did not feel comfortable that I could rely on them. But for you, I never once felt differently about would he hold me down? Would he, be there for me? How would he communicate with me? You always have been open with me, and I think that part has been so important. I think people miss so often. I know we keep saying communication, but that is such a big deal, because if you can't communicate, if you can't communicate now, imagine being away from somebody where you don't have a touch, or you can't, look at them in the eye. Look at them in the eyes. Luckily, we have video call, which makes life great. But having someone physically around is always going to be different. So you just have to really evaluate the situation for yourself and make the right choice. And don't feel like, and I'm gonna throw this to the women out there, don't feel like you have to just up and leave because a man is up and leaving going somewhere. You have to, as I said before, worry about yourself first, because you come first, and shit just falls in line, to be totally honest, because it fell in line for us. I worked on me. I made sure I was good. He made sure he was good. And when it was time, it worked out. Us living in Tampa and him being stationed in Tampa, me getting a job in Tampa is insane. It was all on total faith, because this is not something that would have been normal, would have happened. So, at the end of the day, you have to do what's right for you first. Don't try to put someone above yourself. Make sure you get that warm and fuzzy feeling. Like, I had no doubts, no discomfort or anything when I said, I'm moving to Chicago. And even when he said he was going to Germany, I think if I had a doubt, I wouldn't even call it a doubt. It was, oh, you want to get married because you're going to another country? Not, I didn't want to do a long distance relationship. It was, oh, you want to get married because you're going to another country. Because I was down for the long distance boyfriend-girlfriend relationship still. So.
Which was like, that's not usually why people want to get married. If I'm going to another country, usually that person wants to get single before they go to another. So you going where, Germany? Oh yeah. See, this not gonna work. See, what happened was I'm going to Germany and you're not. So this is the end of our relationship.
I guess I didn't think about it. I really didn't think about it like that either. Yeah. I thought about it on the opposite spectrum, but that's a good point. So he loved me or whatever because he wanted to marry me before he went to Germany, I guess. No, but
yeah, I guess. Like I've had long distance relationships in the past, and none of them worked out, obviously, because it didn't work out until now. So I've had long distance relationships in the past, and it was always something. The lack of trust. They wanted to know what I was doing, and I'm not gonna lie, I was way more of a whore when I was younger than as I got older. And so that level of trust wasn't there. I didn't give it, you know what I'm saying? And I felt it on the other end, like I wasn't getting it. So it was that factor. Another factor was, I wasn't making, initially when I first joined, the Navy, like I wasn't making a lot of money. Like I was making pennies on the dollar, basically. And I wasn't making that much money, and they weren't making a lot of money. It was going to school and college and all other type of stuff. And that like I say, that financial piece, like they couldn't be where I was, and I couldn't always go home. So those things, just kind of build up, and before you know it, things are not working out because of those extenuating circumstances. Like, yeah, you may like that person, you may even have love for that person, but everything around y'all just don't work. and now you're plugging away at something that's just not going to work, and here you are mad at one another, going back and forth, when you can just like cut it and still be cordial, maybe.
And maybe something in the future, it would have, in the future, instead of trying to force something that's not meant to be.
Don't force
nothing. I'm not saying not meant. Let me take that back. I'm not saying not meant to be. Forcing something that's not ready yet. At the end of the day, but I just didn't feel that way.
Yeah, it's like handcuffing, and I say it all the time. Like these dudes, some of y'all dudes be handcuffing. Like you want your chick to rely on you and you solely, and you want to be the breadwinner, and you want to make the most money, and you don't want to allow to swallow your pride, or you don't want your ego to get your ego got to be first and foremost, and it's you, and your lady is sitting there like, what do you want from me? You know what I'm saying? And it's you're not communicating that sometimes you have insecurities, and it's okay for men to have insecurities, but it's not okay to have those insecurities and not communicate that.
Yes.
So like when we first started dating, I was making more money and I was cool with that. And then it seems like a blink of an eye, she's making more money than me, and I'm like, okay, I had to kind of readjust my thinking. Now, I never had an issue with it in the first place, but society makes you think that that's wrong. Like men are supposed to be the breadwinners, and that is so wrong. Because it doesn't really matter who makes the most money. It matters the reverence that you have for one another, and how much you care for one another, and how you communicate, and how you get down, and what y'all decide as a team. That mentality of I'm the breadwinner, I'm supposed to be the man of the household doesn't really coincide with common sense now. It's like saying, okay, she's the woman, she's supposed to raise the kids, and I'm supposed to make the money. But if I retire and she's making the money and I'm raising the kids, are we wrong?
It's just what works for us.
It's just what works for you. Yep. And each individual person that has to make those decisions.
Exactly. I think that's a great way to kind of close that part of it, is all what works for you. And as we said, communication is key and trust is key. And put yourself first. Don't try to run behind somebody to be in a relationship.
If your girl got an opportunity, don't hinder her opportunity because of your insecurity.
Because it will work out if it's meant to work out. Trust me.
Then you may have to look at yourself and be like, all right, I like this woman, I love this woman, I want to make things work. It makes you a better person. It makes you that support system that she needs to be able to do the thing that she needs to do so that you all can be successful. Teamwork makes the dream work. I know y'all heard that before.
So that's just I think a total wrap up of, why we put ourselves in a long distance relationship, and what it took for us to continue the long distance relationship. So now it's turning around now, the past year and a half, we have purchased a house together. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. And
she did all the work because I was in Germany. And it was a lot for her. And I was sitting here
oh my gosh, yeah. But we purchased a house together. We have been living together for the past year and a half. The first 3 months, he actually ended up getting he had to do, what do you call it?
I had to do a deployment.
A deployment to for 3 months.
Yeah, to the
almost right away. But outside of that, again, a year and a half, we've been in the same household. And then on top of all of that, COVID-19. And being in a new city where we know no one. So we had a lot of things occurring all in one time. And then almost to some extent, trying to get to know each other all over again. I mean, from a person, face-to-face perspective, or in-person perspective. So I would say, how was that process for you?
So that adjustment for me was a lot, and it still is. I still have my modes. I'm used to not having to be around somebody every day.
COVID made that worse.
You'll be surprised on how much you enjoy just solitude. quiet. When it's finally like reintroduced into like to your life, it's like almost like a shock to your system. Someone's talking to you all the time. Someone's always requesting something of you. Someone always expecting something to be done around the house but like I was married but living a single life. I didn't have to worry about what someone else was.
We did our own thing. I didn't have to worry about what somebody else was contributing. Felt like I was doing too much, or he won't doing enough, or I won't.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I just did it because it was just me.
Yeah, and I just either did or didn't because it was just me, and like trying to like just come with that adjustment. Sometimes just even laying in the bed was kind of difficult
that
for me.
was up for both of us. I had a hard time too, just because
it's like, who is this in my bed, and why are you here?
I'm a kind of person that just likes to lay across the whole bed.
Yeah.
And then there was a person in my way, so having to adjust to a body being next to you again, like long term. It's like I said, we visit each other, but that was like, it's like a honeymoon stage all over when you're in a long distance relationship. So you see each other for 2 weeks. We really made a point not to, let the small things bother us, because that was the time we had with each other, physically, and being able to see one another. Yeah. So now you're with each other every day, and it's like, oh shoot.
I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, what Juicy say?
I'm not cursing.
but I can't always say that, right? I can't always be like, what Juicy say? When she's talking to me, I just have to just sit there and chill, like, and be like, all right, yeah, okay, and listen, and and notice when I need to be husband, and listen to her vent, even when I don't feel like it, but not show it, because maybe I need to vent too. And there's been times when we both need to vent to one another, and we gotta just take turns
and be supportive, and that's what you do.
Be supportive, like, and it's it's a process of like reintroducing yourselves back to knowing one another, because although we know each other, we've changed
a lot over those years. Huge amount. Like, I can't even get the word out. We changed a lot. That was my 20s when I met you. I was 30 something by the time we got together.
Yeah. Like, just
No, but seriously, just like mature, you grow regardless. As you age, you grow, you mature, and things change. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I mean, not that I don't think there's anything wrong with change. It's just how you all adjust to those changes at the end of the day. Because I would say overall our changes were for the better. One thing, I like to talk over people, so
all the time,
and not purposely, because if us women, we understand it, we can communicate like that. But with a man, it is a little bit different, and they want to hear their voice too, and we can't just like kind of cut them off and talk. And that was something I had to work on, and I ain't gonna say I perfected it or anything, but I'm like 85% good. So
a lot better than what you was.
Yeah, so I mean, and things like that, just being able to be better.
Mm-hmm. And I can honestly say I'm more attentive, and I try to be more intentional with my actions on what I do, to show that I do hear you, I listen. My facial expression doesn't really change. Like, you could be telling me something serious, or you could be telling me a joke, and my face will be the same thing until like the end, and I'm just like, ha ha ha, or okay, cool, and that's about it. So I know, like, I have to like show through some type of action that I see you, I hear you, and this is what I'm trying to do to show that to you.
Okay.
So
let's say, what was your biggest challenge for us coming back?
I think my biggest challenge was having to listen to someone else's opinion.
My opinion, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I just could do whatever I chose to do. Either it was a good decision or a bad decision. If it was a bad decision, I learned from it. It was like, okay, that I probably shouldn't have did that. But now when I'm making either decision, I have to hear commentary. And that becomes very frustrating when you didn't have to have that. Now it becomes something that you hear almost.
We didn't have it all the time.
Yeah.
Now it's like every time
Daily.
you say something, you don't have it all the time. I would say one of my biggest struggles was like, honestly, outside opinions. So this is the first time we've been with each other married. So we were adjusting to what it was like being married together. But then on top of that, I had to worry about how other people perceived us as a married couple and how we act around people outside of our household. And that was an adjustment for me, because even though people saw us out and together, when he was in Germany or when we were in Chicago, because it was such a short period of time, there was nothing that needed to be done, I guess, to some extent. There was nothing that, it didn't never feel awkward. But when we're here all the time, we see each other all the time, we see people all the time, or, it's like I have to validate my relationship. I had to make sense of what people thought of who we are, or, how we spoke to each other. But as I've said before, your relationship is your relationship, and you can't let other people come in and make those judgments. I mean, one thing I can say, I'm probably overall pretty private person. Even doing this is out of my comfort zone personally. But you have to be, I'm losing my train of thought. Like, you have to really be like, think about you two and not everyone else on the outside, because that will destroy.
Yeah, you can't let outside people that's not in your relationship, you don't need to let them dictate what's going on in your relationship. You know what I'm saying? If there's no domestic abuse type things going on and y'all just have a different way of vibing, y'all just got a different way of vibing.
Exactly. And it just works for us.
If your vibe works for y'all, then that's it. Like, it ain't gotta work for everybody else. Because everybody else in your relationship.
Exactly, it's just you. So keep that part in mind too. So, I mean, anything else you want to talk about? We're like coming back together in the house that we talked about? Oh, the finances.
I mean, let's say that for another one.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah, let's say that for another one, because, like, I think finances is a touchy one, because people have different ways that they choose, and there's multiple ways to do something right. So,
oh yeah. Okay. So we'll talk finances separately from all of this, but I'll let you do my normal subscribe and all that stuff, because right. I started it off.
Hey, so I want to say thank you all for tuning in. These are posted on wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe, like, share, and tell people that, hey, two cool people are on videos and they talking about real life stuff, because we appreciate it. And that's
subscribe and like and comment.
I said all of that.
Did you? It didn't feel right. Okay.
There you go. All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. Peace out.
All right. See you next time. Bye.